"Amma, your phone's ringing." The words barely left Zuri's mouth before the melody filled the ballroom, smooth, rich, unmistakably African. For a moment, it felt like the walls themselves were listening. Every conversation stopped. A crystal glass froze midair. Even the string quartet hesitated mid-note. The call wasn't coming from the millionaire's diamond-studded phone, nor the journalist's buzzing devices. It came from a small, cracked mobile in a maid's apron pocket. At the far edge of the glittering room, Amma and her daughter Zuri froze. They had been polishing silver quietly for hours, invisible among champagne laughter and designer gowns. Now, all eyes turned toward them, curious, amused, judgmental. Someone chuckled. "Who brings a phone into the gala?" another whispered, voice dripping with mockery. Amma fumbled, trying to silence the ringtone. But before she could, Zuri, nervous and flustered, answered. Her voice came out soft, trembling yet proud, speaking rapid African into the receiver. The sound rolled through the hall like music, pure, melodic, foreign. Laughter burst out across the room. Expensive perfumes mixed with arrogance. "Did she just sing to her phone?" a woman sneered. At the main table, Mr. Lawrence Vale leaned back in his chair, a silver watch flashing under the chandelier light. The billionaire host of the night, known for his empire, his arrogance, and his ability to turn anything into a performance. He smirked, eyes narrowing on the two maids. "Well," he said loudly, tapping his glass for silence. "Seems our staff have talents we weren't aware of." The guests laughed on cue. Zuri's hands shook as she lowered the phone. Amma stepped forward, standing slightly in front of her daughter, not defiantly, but with quiet dignity. Lawrence's tone turned playful, but his smile was sharp. "Translate that for us, won't you? Let's hear what our little linguist said." Zuri looked down, her voice shrinking. "It was nothing, sir. My aunt. She—" "Oh, don't be shy," Lawrence interrupted, waving his diamond cuff. "We're all dying to learn some culture tonight." More laughter. Cameras from the local press flickered, catching every uncomfortable second. Amma's eyes met her daughter's, calm, steady, silently telling her to stay quiet. Zuri swallowed hard. She asked if I'd eaten. The crowd erupted again. "How poetic," someone laughed. "Maybe she can teach the kitchen staff next." Amma felt Zuri's hand tremble behind her apron. Her lips tightened. She turned her gaze toward the host, not angry, not pleading. Just firm. "Sir," she said, her voice low, accented, but steady. "We are working. May we return to it?" Lawrence's smile widened. "Working? Oh, come now." A moment of fun never hurt anyone. The room pulsed with amusement. To him, it was entertainment, a harmless joke. To Amma, it was humiliation disguised as charm. Before she could answer, the phone rang again. The same rich melody filled the air. Gasps and laughter followed. Amma picked it up slowly this time. And when she spoke, the tone changed. Gone was the tremble. Her words rolled out fluent and firm, each syllable clear, resonant, commanding. The language was the same, but her voice wasn't. The laughter faded, confused. Even those who didn't understand the words could feel the weight behind them. Dr. Miles Carter, a guest seated near the back, tilted his head. He recognized something: structure, rhythm, authority. It wasn't the tone of a maid. Amma finished the call quietly and lowered the phone. The room was silent now, eyes fixed on her. Lawrence's smirk faltered, ever so slightly. He leaned forward, curiosity edging into his voice. "That didn't sound like gossip." Amma didn't reply. She just turned, guiding Zuri gently back toward the service corridor. But before they disappeared, Lawrence called out, his voice echoing across the marble floor. "Wait." He rose from his chair, eyes sharp with interest. "Who exactly are you two?" And for the first time that night, the laughter stopped, replaced by a strange, heavy stillness that no one could quite explain. "Let's see if the maids can teach us that cute little language." Lawrence's voice sliced through the soft jazz and laughter, turning every head toward Amma and Zuri once again. The billionaire's grin gleamed under the chandeliers, confident, careless, cruel. Amma froze mid-step, holding a silver tray close to her chest. Zuri stayed half hidden behind her, eyes wide, gripping her mother's apron. Around them, the ballroom glittered, diamonds, tuxedos, golden plates, and in the middle of it all, two maids cornered by mockery. Amma spoke softly, trying to keep her voice steady. "We're working, sir." But Lawrence chuckled, swirling his champagne. "Oh, come now. It's just a bit of fun. Humor us. Maybe teach us a few words." Guests leaned closer, smiling, expecting entertainment. A woman whispered, they should be grateful he's even talking to them. Amma lowered her gaze. "Please, sir." "I'd rather not." Lawrence's grin sharpened. "If you're scared, just say so." A few gasps followed. Others laughed. The room's warmth shifted into something colder, sharper. Zuri looked up at her mother, lips trembling. Amma didn't move. The tension thickened. Then, suddenly, clang. Zuri dropped a silver tray. The crash echoed through the ballroom, cutting the laughter short for a heartbeat before it returned, louder than before. Lawrence tilted his head, eyes glinting with mock amusement. "See. She trembles when the rich speak." The guests laughed again, not cruelly, but mindlessly, as if mocking had become part of the evening's entertainment. At the back of the room, Dr. Miles Carter watched in silence. The African-born linguist sat apart from the crowd, his expression unreadable. He noticed Amma's stillness, the kind of quiet that carried more power than shouting ever could. Amma finally lifted her head. Her eyes were calm, but her voice was sharper than glass. "You don't mock what you don't understand." The laughter dimmed. For a moment, no one knew whether she was being brave or foolish. Lawrence smiled wider, the kind of smile that hides irritation. "Oh, I understand plenty," he said lightly. "Money, manners, language, some people just weren't born for it." A ripple of polite laughter followed, but Amma didn't look away. She spoke again, this time in her native tongue, slow, melodic, resonant. The rhythm of it rolled through the room like distant thunder. The guests exchanged glances. The sound wasn't funny anymore. It felt heavy. Lawrence raised an eyebrow. "And what does that mean?" Amma's lips curved faintly. "It's a proverb," she said. "Even the lion's cub knows when the forest is silent." The room stilled. The words seemed to echo long after she stopped speaking. Dr. Carter's brow furrowed. He recognized the structure, ancient Akan phrasing, layered with meaning. Respect. Warning. Pride. The crowd tried to laugh again, but it sounded forced. Lawrence set down his glass, his smirk returning, though thinner now. Impressive. A proverb and a performance. He leaned forward, voice smooth but pointed. "Tell you what. Let's put that talent to use." Amma said nothing. Lawrence stood, drawing the room's attention. "I'll make you a deal," he announced, smiling like a showman. "Translate my next speech, live, in front of everyone here. If you succeed, I'll pay you a month's salary tonight." Murmurs filled the air. Zuri's eyes darted up, frightened. "Mama, no," she whispered. Amma looked at her daughter, then at Lawrence. The crowd waited. Finally, she spoke, soft, calm, and deliberate. "If that's your wish, sir," she straightened her shoulders. "I accept." Lawrence smiled, triumphant, not realizing that for the first time all night, he wasn't the one in control. "Translate this, if you can." Lawrence's voice cut through the chatter, sharp and smug. He raised his glass toward the chandeliers. "Ladies and gentlemen, a little entertainment. If our dear maid can translate my speech live, she'll earn a month's salary in one night." The crowd cheered like it was a circus act. Amma didn't move at first. Zuri clutched her apron beside her, trembling, eyes darting toward the exit. But Amma took a step forward, shoulders straight, face unreadable. "Your stage, sir," she said quietly. Lawrence smirked. "Good. Let's make this educational." He began, a grand, winding speech filled with business jargon and self-congratulation. In the dynamic landscape of global finance, he declared, true leadership requires adaptability, synergy, and the courage to disrupt inefficiency. Some guests nodded, pretending to understand. Others just watched Amma. When he paused, she spoke, calm, smooth, deliberate, her words flowing in rich African cadence. The language rolled off her tongue like poetry, each phrase landing with a quiet force. Zuri looked up at her sister in awe. Amma's tone carried no fear. Only precision. Dr. Miles Carter, standing near the back, tilted his head. "That's not a worker's dialect," he murmured. "That's classical Akan structure, refined." Lawrence noticed the murmurs, the sudden silence. He frowned. "Let's make it harder," he said, his smile tightening. He added Latin, business idioms, tangled metaphors, everything he could to trip her up. Amma never stumbled. She translated each word flawlessly, her rhythm unwavering. At one point, she even mirrored his phrasing so gracefully that the crowd fell completely still. Zuri's trembling stopped. She straightened beside her sister, her fear replaced by something new, pride. Amma finished his final line, then added one of her own. "In our tongue," she said softly, "we say, the tallest tree forgets the wind, until it bends." The words hung in the air. The crowd's laughter faded into awkward silence. Someone clapped, uncertain. Then another joined in, then a few more. But it wasn't amusement anymore, it was uneasy respect. Dr. Carter leaned toward the guest beside him. "She's no maid," he whispered. "She was a scholar." A flicker crossed Amma's eyes, a memory, quick and painful. Chalk dust, a classroom, rows of children reciting lessons. Then it was gone. Lawrence forced a grin. "Well," he said, his voice tight, "perhaps you're more than a maid, Amma." He stepped closer, his shadow falling across her face. "Let's find out just how much more." Amma held his gaze. Behind her, Zuri took a shaky breath. The crowd waited, tension curling like smoke in the air. The lights shimmered across the polished floor, reflecting a truth no one wanted to admit: the power in that room had just shifted, even if only for a moment. "Pawn to e4, Lawrence declared, his tone dripping with mock importance. The guests chuckled, forming a loose circle around the chessboard placed under the chandelier. "Let's see if our brilliant translator knows what that means." Amma stood still, her hands clasped in front of her apron. "I clean the tables, sir," she said quietly. "Not play games." The crowd laughed louder, thinking it was a joke. But Lawrence leaned forward, eyes glinting. "Oh, but this isn't a game, my dear. It's a lesson." Zuri tugged at her mother's sleeve. "Please, Mama, don't." Amma looked at her daughter, then back at the board. Her voice was soft, steady. "If this is your lesson, sir, then I'll learn it my way." She stepped forward. Someone brought out a crystal chess set, gold and ivory pieces gleaming under the lights. Phones lifted. A few guests whispered bets. Lawrence made his first move again, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Pawn to e4, he repeated, as if announcing a victory. Amma's eyes scanned the board once. Then she said, almost to herself, c5. The air shifted. A murmur rippled through the room, a few men recognizing it instantly. The Sicilian defense. A counterstrike, not a retreat. Dr. Carter raised a brow. "That's no beginner," he muttered. Lawrence forced a laugh. Well. Seems our maid's been watching YouTube tutorials." Amma said nothing. Her hands were calm, deliberate, her face unreadable. He played fast, slamming pieces down, filling the room with clinks and tension. She moved like water, quiet, smooth, letting him overextend himself. Every time he smirked, she countered with something precise, elegant, unnerving. The laughter began to fade. Dr. Carter leaned toward a journalist beside him. "She's not defending," he whispered. "She's guiding him. Every move's a counteraggression." Zuri stood near the edge of the crowd, fingers digging into her apron. Her eyes never left her mother. Lawrence started talking louder, trying to take control back. "See, this is what happens when you overreach. A pawn is just a pawn." Amma moved her rook without looking up. "Only until the board changes, sir." A few guests exchanged glances. Someone whispered, "She's toying with him." The match stretched on, silent, heavy, until Amma's queen advanced deep into enemy territory. Lawrence leaned back, confident again. Ah, the bold move. But risky. Let's see how long you last. Amma studied the board. Her eyes flicked to Zuri, a faint smile, gone in an instant. Then, she lifted her queen, and placed it directly in harm's way. Gasps cut through the room. She's sacrificing her queen, someone whispered. Lawrence barked out a laugh, triumphant. And just like that, he said, knocking her queen over with his knight, the maid loses her crown. But Amma didn't flinch. Her next move came almost instantly, quiet, exact. Dr. Carter leaned forward, eyes widening. Wait, no. She didn't lose it. The board tilted in her favor. The crowd began to see it, the trap closing, the pieces cornering him. But before anyone could speak, Lawrence grinned, unaware of what was coming next. Well, he said, his voice booming through the hall, that's checkmate for you. Amma's hand hovered above her next piece, calm, patient. And just as his laughter filled the air, she moved. The crowd fell silent. Seems cleaning table suits you better, Lawrence sneered, leaning back in his chair. His voice carried over the hushed crowd, sharp and smug. Some games aren't meant for the help. Amma didn't answer. Her fingers rested lightly on a single piece, the knight. Then, without looking up, she moved it forward. A quiet click echoed through the ballroom. Dr. Carter suddenly straightened in his seat. Wait, he murmured. She's setting a trap. The crowd leaned in, murmuring. Lawrence squinted at the board, then laughed. A trap. Please. She just lost her queen. What could she possibly have left? Amma's eyes flicked up once, calm, steady. Sometimes, sir, she said softly, what's left is enough. Her pawns began to move, one, then another, slow, deliberate. The rhythm of her hands was hypnotic, precise. Lawrence's smirk faltered as he realized every one of his pieces had suddenly lost room to move. The laughter died. Glasses were lowered. The air thickened with quiet disbelief. Amma didn't rush. She studied the board the way a sculptor studies marble, seeing what others couldn't. Her next move pinned his rook. The next silenced his bishop. The next, left his king alone. Dr. Carter whispered to no one in particular, she's controlling the tempo. Every move forces him where she wants him. Lawrence frowned, leaning closer. His fingers hovered over his remaining pieces, but none of them made sense anymore. Every option closed on itself. Amma looked up at him, eyes dark, thoughtful. It's quiet now, she said. The forest before the lion strikes. Her knight moved again. Another gasp rippled through the crowd. Lawrence blinked, realizing too late what had happened. His king had nowhere to go. The silence stretched, heavy as glass. Amma sat still, her hand resting on the table. Then she whispered, almost like an afterthought, checkmate. The room erupted, gasps, applause, disbelief. Someone dropped a glass. Someone whispered, impossible. Lawrence didn't move. His mouth opened slightly, but no sound came out. His face had drained of color. Amma leaned back slowly, the faintest sadness touching her eyes. And for a moment, the ballroom faded, replaced by another world, long ago. A dusty classroom in Ghana. A younger Amma standing before a chalkboard, teaching children the patterns of chess. A medal gleaming faintly around her neck, national champion, 1998. A husband smiling proudly from the doorway. Then, an empty seat. A folded flag. Her life reduced to survival, not dreams. The flash of memory dissolved. Amma blinked, returning to the gleaming ballroom, where silence had fallen once again. She stood, her posture straight but humble. Dr. Carter took a hesitant step forward. His eyes were wide with recognition. Her name, he said softly, almost reverently. It can't be Amma Osei, can it? The crowd turned to him, whispering. That name, once whispered in chess circles as a legend. The prodigy who vanished without explanation. Amma met his gaze, her expression unreadable. Lawrence's hand trembled slightly beside the fallen king. And for the first time that night, he said nothing.